Now, last video we talked about Antonin de Tracy and the beginnings of the term ideology as a replacement for theology as part of the liberal bourgeois project. We talked about how Tracy saw ideology as emerging from our sensual relations to the world, thus naturalizing our thoughts, and that it was a way of being ingrained in our economic situation. Both of these ideas came from John Locke. And I mentioned that Karl Marx used the term advisedly, but also as an insult. Now, we're going to talk about Marxist and Marx's ideas about ideology. The problem is that while Marx is one of the foremost thinkers of the way we use the term ideology now, most Marxist ideas about ideology have significantly expanded Marx's original ideas in such a way that they kind of have to be distinguished. Let me give you an example of why. In his Ideology and Introduction, Terry Eagleton, the Marxist Christian thinker, lays out all the possible definitions of ideology as used in common academic discourse, particularly around Marxism, but also just in academia in general. And he gives us, in no particular order, 16 different definitions, and I'm going to go over them. The process of production of meaning, signs, and values in social life. That's meaning-making in general. 2, a body of ideas characteristic of a particular social group or class. This is close to what Marx means, and we'll come back to it. 3, ideas that help legitimate a dominant political power. This is also close to what Marx means, but it is kind of separate. 4, false ideas that help legitimate a dominant political power. Notice that you have to distinguish ideas that help legitimate and false ideas, because ideology can be used to ideas to help legitimate a political power. They can be true or false, or it can mean false. Even in Marxism, we go back and forth between the two terms, often willy-nilly, and we're only on definition 4. Definition 5, systemically distorted communication, similar to propaganda. Definition 6, ideas that offer a position on a subject. So any idea or worldview that offers a position or opinion on a subject at all. That's bigger than Marx's definition. Number 7, forms of thought motivated by social interest. Well, doesn't that sound like number 3? It is slightly different, though, and we have to break it down. Number 8, identity thinking, or thinking about your identity and your identity in the social structure. For example, in Adorno, in negative dialectics, there is the famous phrase, identity is the Ur form of ideology. Number 9, socially necessary illusions, or false ideas we have to make society work. Now that sounds like number 4, but there's nothing in number 9 that actually says that we have to work this way. Number 10, the conjuncture of discourse and power. That's really vague. So where power is related to the way we talk about it. Number 11, the medium in which conscious social actors make sense of their world. So that's back very similar to our definition number 1, although it's now specific to understanding the world, or what we would call like a worldview. Number 12, action-oriented set of beliefs, or any beliefs we have that inspire action. Well, that's really broad. Number 13, the confusion between linguistic and phenomenological reality, or the way we talk about the world versus the way we experience the world, and the ideology fills in the gaps. Number 14, semiotic disclosure, which is a system of symbols that gives things meaning that we can talk about, but that are circular and thus enclosed amongst themselves. That's a big deal, and it's related to all the other things we've talked about, but it isn't the same. Number 15, The indispensable medium in which individuals live out their relations to the social structure. And number 16, the process that converts social life to a natural reality. Now, all of these definitions are slightly different from each other. Some are very different from others. And they all have some root in the way Marx uses ideology. But they're kind of individually developed strands. So today, we're going to talk about Karl Marx's theory of ideology as expressed in the German ideology, which he wrote with Frederick Engels, where this is most clearly stated.